bound to have won, Victorian language, amongst viewers in general, but Liz Truss stayed well ahead amongst Conservative voters. So if you're a general voter, and actually you don't count, not at the moment, you will count when it comes to general election, you like Rishi Sunak, but if you are a Conservative voter, Conservative member, you do count, you quite liked Liz Truss.
Let's find out more. Political correspondent at the Daily Express, Dan Pavley, joins us in the studio. Dan, Rishi Sunak had quite a mountain to climb when we looked at the polling amongst, and Eamonn's just talked about some fresh polling this morning, Conservative Party members. He didn't quite do enough.
Rishi Sunak, when they were in the first stage of this campaign, was very much the top dog. He had the support of all the MPs. And going into last night, what he knew was in this stage, as you said, amongst Tory members, he's not as popular. And I think what we saw last night was he came out fighting. He was talking over Liz Truss a lot. He was trying to get his point across. He was trying to say, look, I'm willing to put the fight in. I'm going to do what's needed to win you over. Unfortunately, though, while he does appear to have been more popular overall, that's largely helped by the support of Labour voters who backed up his support amongst who thought people won last night's debate. When you look at Tory members, it did tend to be Liz Truss who they preferred.
There's not a lot in it, though. There's not a lot between them. I mean, it's doable for him to claw this back.
There isn't a lot in it, and it has to be said that this campaign doesn't end until September the 5th. That's a long time to go, and who knows what can happen. There's plenty of opportunities for slip-ups, for the odd policy announcement that wins over voters, for more clashes and more fiery exchanges like we saw last night. Who knows what could happen between now and then.
But there aren't as many opportunities for Rishi Sunak to have so much of the spotlight to try and persuade over that membership.
I think what we're going to see in the coming weeks is that he will be taking every opportunity he can to get his point across. So what we've seen is he's announced that he's going to be doing more media interviews. He said he's going to do an interview with Andrew Neil on Friday night. What we've seen is Liz Truss is taking far more of a protect the lead approach. She's doing less media appearances. She's hoping that I've got the lead. Let's not try to mess it up by putting myself in the spotlight too much. He's going to take every opportunity he can to try to put that point across.
But she's already done the big interview. She came on this show. She did us. So she did 82% people watching loved her as a result. So she's preaching to the converted on a channel like this. They are her fans. What did you think overall? What did you think? What did you come away with your overall view of the pair of them?
My overview opinion of the pair of them was I think Tory MPs are putting their hands over their eyes and thinking, we can't do this for another 6 weeks. It became very nasty and very personal very quickly last night. At the end of this, they do need to come together.
But they said that. They said they would work together.
And so they did say that, but it's very easy to say the words. It's much harder to do. Last night, I thought, was more toxic in some of the exchanges than what we saw during some of the leaders' debates before a general election. And as much as they can say they want to be one party, the danger is you're going to have two factions fighting against each other in the months ahead, even when this is all over.
Well, it's basically on economic policy, isn't it?
Well, that was a very interesting thing. When they stopped talking about economics and they started talking about issues such as China or on strikes, actually, despite their different language, they were more or less on the same page. They both agreed they need to stand up more to China. They both agreed that they needed to do something about climate change. They both agreed that train strikes were wrong. It was just the economy, really, that was the main differentiating factor between them.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do now, Dan. We're going to go to Wilton in Wiltshire. So let's say good morning to Francis Moore, who's a GBNews viewer and listener. And up late last night, Francis, watching all that went on. What did you think?
Good morning, Eamonn. Good morning, Rosie. Yes, I did stay up to watch last night. And it was a bit of a fiery 35 minutes on the economy. And there is blue water between the two candidates. I like both candidates, so let's be fair. Either would be a good representative to lead the Conservatives into the next election. For me, I found, and I think the actual studio audience found that Rishi was perhaps a little bit more progressive Liz was still leaning on her past, which is a shame because I think she has a lot to offer, but needs to shake that off and demonstrate how she's going to lead this country into, a successful fifth term for the Conservatives. I was shocked.
Francis, let's tell everybody about you. You're a very interesting man. Francis is 65 years of age. He's retired. He's on universal credit at the moment. He worked in the financial services industry for over 40 years. You are, Francis, a member of the Conservative Party, and illness has affected your career. You've been homeless in your time, my friend. He has used sheltered accommodation. I hear you were tempted to cancel your Conservative Party membership. Why did you decide to keep it?
Well, essentially, when I thought about it, I would be just wasting my vote for the future. And I wasn't prepared to do that. However much I've been disappointed in Boris, he was immensely successful. Let's give him credit for getting most of Brexit done. But he was a hopeless planner. He was a hopeless executor. I came from business, which is about long-term planning, which is why possibly I align a little bit more to Rishi, because, my business, pensions business, was about long-term planning. And I think that keeping my membership was a strategic move, and I'm pleased that I did, because I'm keeping my mind open, but I am pleased to see that the Conservative headquarters have confirmed that duplicate votes can be made. So the early lead that Liz Truss has garnered through her association as a successor of Boris, and the anger of some of my fellow members as to the defenestration of Boris, which I do feel is being unfairly laid at the door of Rishi. He wasn't the first to resign, and 50 other ministers followed him pretty damn quickly down the road. So I think that's unfair. But people are entitled to their opinions. But there is a great strength of opinion, particularly on GBNews. I can see that as a regular viewer, that there is a great strength of feeling about the loss of Boris. And in many ways, he is a loss. But my view is perhaps slightly old-fashioned, conservative, which is that honesty, integrity, etc., truthfulness is actually very much part of what we're about. If you can't trust what someone's saying, then I think we're into difficulties, and we were in difficulties. There's no doubt about that.
In the studio with us, Francis, the words that have just come out there, truth, integrity, do you think that this level of infighting in the party is going to leave come September a party that can claim any of those things?
I think it's certainly going to be harder. And I think what's interesting from what Francis was just saying there is that he said he'd be, both were good candidates. Party members want this to be one party that comes together. And the danger is it's the candidates that are making it harder for that to happen. What the members want is a happy family at the end of the day that can go and win the next election. They don't want to see this level of infighting.
Which camp do you think is playing fairest?
Oh, I think it's always hard to say because the different levels to this. You've got the candidates themselves, who both appear to be playing very fair and saying, I would never get involved. You've then got what do their supporters get on with, and what we've seen with that is people such as Nadine Dorries, who is supporting Liz Truss, was very vocal on social media yesterday in attacking Rishi Sunak for his wealth. Rishi Sunak's trying to keep his supporters more in line than that. But then you've also got the briefings to the media, and that can be done on a completely different level. So I think there are different levels to this, and I think for either of them to claim that they're being completely clean in this campaign would be wrong for them to say.
Dan, thank you very much indeed. Dan is the Deputy Digital Political Editor at the Daily Express. Francis, just finally, you were saying you're keeping an open mind. You haven't decided yet. How long do you think it will take you to decide?
I hope most of the remaining weeks up until the 5th of September. My leaning currently is towards Rishi, but he needs to demonstrate a great deal. I would like to see Liz become a little more open. I still feel she's very defensive about her record, her past record, some of which is, frankly, to me, not memorable. I've been there. I think she still has a weakness around inflation, which obviously is a point that Rishi was trying to make very vehemently yesterday evening in the head-to-head debate. So there's still all to play for. And I think the important thing is that I would encourage my fellow Conservative members, take a deep breath at the moment. Don't just receive your ballots or go online and vote straight away. Just hold back. I think this debate is positive for the party. I know we've had blue on blue, and I don't want to see that. But on the other hand, I would rather see two very committed potential leaders really going for it. And I think that's positive. So I think there are positives to take out. I know the media wants to skew the debates, but let's give it a bit more time. Let's see how it goes down across the country in terms of the various hustings.
Okay, well, Francis, unfortunately, we have no more time to give you. So, but you've been very measured, very, very considered, and I'm sure people will really have taken on board what you've had to say. But thank you very much indeed. From Wilton and Wiltshire, that's GB News viewer and listener, Francis Moore. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, you're with breakfast.
A pleasure, Rosie. A pleasure.
Great to have you. It's 17 minutes past 6. We want to have your say on the programme as well as Francis.